Hey everyone, it's Sarah from Sassy Reads, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I read in 2018, so let's dive right in. The first book I'm going to be talking about is an ARC that was provided by NetGalley and the publishers. I read this one back in March, and it's called The Merry Spinster, Tales of the Everyday Horror by Mallory Ortberg. If you love anthology collections, if you love horror, if you love stories that are famous, like Beauty and the Beast, The Velveteen Rabbit, The Book of Genesis, Beauty and the Beast, Snow White, The Six Swans, then this is for you. There's some more in there, like The Frog Prince 2. All those stuff, yeah. This may pique your interest. I gave this collection a 3.75 star rating, which is really high for a short story collection because I rate short story collections individually by what I give each short story, and then I divide it, and it got a 3.75 stars. So, you know, high rated collection. It's creepy, it's atmospheric. I feel like Ortberg really has a lot of stories where she really delivers and shows who she is as a writer, which is great because I gave 3 short stories in this collection 5 stars and one a 4.5 star rating, which is an amazing thing to do when reading a short story collection, for at least for me personally, because I'm quite picky. So let me tell you which ones I gave 5 stars to. I gave 5 stars to this one's called Fear Not, an Incident Log. This one is a retelling of the Book of Genesis from the Bible, and it follows the point of view of the Lord's angel, who is sent down by God to wrestle Jacob. And he's like retelling this in like a way where he's like, this is the most horrifying thing that I've ever done because I feel like I disobeyed God, not realizing what the actual outcome was, which is an interesting turn of events. So it's a thought-provoking story. That's why I really enjoyed it. I like thought-provoking things. The next one is called The Sixth Boy Coffin, which I feel like this one's going to be a favorite of a lot of people. I gave this one 5 stars, of course. This one follows The Six Swans, which if you've read Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier, you know this story. It's the story of the 7 children, 6 brothers, 1 daughter, the 7th daughter. The 7th child is the daughter. And they end up being cursed by their stepmother, who puts a curse on them that they have to turn into swans. And the daughter can't speak, and she has to sew these poisonous stalwart things. Well, in Daughter of the Forest, they were stalwarts. I think there were stalwarts in this story. Don't remember, though. Poisonous thorns into a shirt, and then place the shirt on all of the brothers, and they will be transformed back into it. And, yeah, it felt so Daughter of the Foresty, although it didn't have, like, the same vibe of Starcha, because this is a horror collection, and so it has a different turn of events than, like, you would expect. And it got crazy. It was not, like, crazy, but it was what was intended, and I love that. I love that. My favorite in this collection, though, is The Rabbit, which is based off of The Velveteen Rabbit, which is a famous story that most kids grow up hearing about. But this rabbit wants to become real. And to become real, you have to slowly suck the life force out of your child. And the boy becomes quite ill, his teeth fall out. Scary stuff is happening, and this rabbit is just always in his arms. Talk about horrifying. This was the scariest story in this collection. It was probably the most gruesome and graphic in description, and I loved it. And then the last story that I was going to talk about is one that I gave 4.5 stars to. This one is called Cast Your Bread Upon the Waters, and it follows an old woman as she recounts her son's greatest sin, and it is falling in love with a siren and having children with her, and the bargain that they struck, and how the mother was okay with it, but when it started to threaten the loss of her grandchildren, she took matters into her own hands in biblical terms. Yeah, so I'll leave my link to my review down below, and you can go read the descriptions of all the stories and see if it's something you would be interested in, because, you know, it's a scary collection, and who doesn't love a good scary collection? So let's dive into the next book that I read in 2018. I listened to the audiobook of An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. This is an Oprah Book Club picks, so you know it's getting a lot of acclaim. I originally saw a review by Emily May on Goodreads for it, and it struck me because this follows Ray and Celestial and their friend, whose name I should look up real quick. What's his name? It's Ray, Celestial, and Roy. Sorry, Roy and Celestial. They're this newly married couple. They travel to Louisiana, and they're meeting Roy's family. They're from the Atlanta area. And, you know, they have all these dreams because they're this new couple. And Roy ends up being accused of raping a woman in the same hotel that they were staying at, even though he was not there near this woman at all. And it's pretty obvious that he is accused because he's a black man. And so it has like racial issues that it touches on, as well as what it means to continue being married to a man who's in prison and incarcerated, and then Roy ends up being released, and what that means for Celestial and Andre, who they're friends with, and Celestial and Andre have found solace in one another. So yeah, I'm gonna tell you this. There were times where I hated it, and I was like, I can't finish this. The narration was so good. The narration was so good. Listen to the audiobook, you guys. Like Roy's voice, perfect. I'm from Louisiana. He has the Louisiana accent. He nails it. And it's so good. And like by the end of it, I was like, God, I can't believe I almost stopped reading because I was getting so frustrated with the characters and their actions. By the end of it, I was like, this story is so good. And yeah, I highly recommend An American Marriage. You all need to pick it up because it's emotional and it made me cry. And it'll make you cry too. And if you listen to the audiobook, then you'll get this really great listening experience, and you'll feel like you're watching the cinematic masterpiece, because Tayari Jones, she can write. I'm going to try to check out another one of her audiobooks for, I think, A Silver Sparrow, just because I want more. She's a good writer. Then the next book I read, well, I've been reading this one since January 3rd. I read The Fiery Cross by Diana Gabaldon. Okay, this is where it gets hard for me because I have a new confession to make. I've fallen out of love with the Outlander series. I've said it. This book killed it for me. This book destroyed Outlander for me. I went from loving Outlander to barely tolerating it. This is too long. This could have been 600 pages and we still would have gotten all the same stuff. Too much just descriptions of things that were inconsequential to the story and had no purpose. And I chugged through this. My favorite book, The Stand, is the same size as this book, and I didn't feel this level of hatred going through that book. So this goes to show that you need to edit your books. There's someone on Goodreads who says that Diana Gabaldon is so in love with her writing, and I agree. This woman is obsessed with her writing, and she thinks it's like the shiznit, and she's obsessed with her characters, which is great because I used to be obsessed with them too. I used to love Jamie and Claire with all my heart. Like I was like, I want a relationship like Jamie and Claire. Love, love. No, I'm over it. And then like the whole Brianna and Roger storyline, I'm over it too. There were like so many times where Roger almost died in here, and I was like, okay, this will be interesting. How do you cope with, you know, losing a man who's from the same time period as you, and y'all kind of like have to like rely upon one another for like, because you know their whole like romance is based on the fact that like we came here together, so we find solace in one another for that. So what would it have been like if he had died and then she just had to rely on her mom, and her mom's already like older in age, and you know everyone who gets older in age doesn't live as long, especially because now they're in America and they don't have the same type of health care that they did in the 1900s. So I give this 2 stars because it was okay. I'm incredibly disappointed with this book, but I'm not going to be continuing the series. I'll just say that this is my last Outlander novel. I will maybe probably watch a TV show, but I'm gonna hang the towel up for that one. So out of those 3 books, I recommend American Marriage the most. Let me know down below in the comments if you've read any of these books, if you plan to. What are your thoughts? Let's discuss. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe and